Hey everyone, I'm your host for the evening, Chelsea Cross. Tonight is going to be loaded with amazing content, some of my favorite people, influencers, friends, and also we have an amazing partner for tonight, Capital One. You know, the millennial generation is certainly breaking traditions, whether people are liking it or not. We're redefining what our normal is, which happens to be one of my favorite things about this generation. What is clear about the millennials is that we're hungry for success, we think outside the box, and we are pioneering our own paths to financial independence. So tonight, our partner, Capital One, and I teamed up to make Millennial Talk truly loaded with insane amounts of people and amazing content. So without further ado, let me introduce to you who we're seeing here, a bunch of good-looking people tonight. We're speaking to on Twitter, of course, make sure to pull up your Twitter feed as well, hashtag Millennial Talk. On Twitter is Nicole Lappin, financial expert and best-selling author of Rich Bitch, and Mary Beth Strohan, she's a CFP founder of Workable Wealth. They will be totally blowing up the Twitter feed while we're also simultaneously having our Blab chat with these fine individuals here. So we're also infusing Blab. This is about our 5th Blab. It's so much fun. Feel free to engage up a storm on the Blab feed here. Feel free to give each other props. I always like seeing my props go up. So on our Blab, you see Winnie Sun. Winnie, give a wave. Managing director and founding partner of Sun Group Wealth Partners. You got Greg Goldner, who is speaker, author, co-founder, and CEO of The Impulse, who happens to be my partner in The Impulse, and Ebony Johnson Cooper, thought leader, expert consultant, and social media strategist on the Blab as well. So we're going to be diving into the conversation. We'll be talking out all the questions for tonight on the Blab as well as on the Twitter. I also have some really great statistics and survey findings from the survey that Capital One did, Millennial Mindset on Money Survey, which kind of really inspired a lot of the conversation for tonight. So, without further ado, y'all ready to get started?
Let's do this.
All right, so I'm officially sending out Q1, which means that I'm going to allow everybody to take a second to send out their answers to Q1. If my computer will allow me to send out Q1. There we go. Q1 officially sent. I'm also going to put all the questions in our Blab feed here as well for you Blabbers. Hey, Roberto. If you want to engage in the Blab feed and target someone, it's just like Twitter, put the @ sign in front and they will come up. Hey, Roberto. All right, so Q1 is out. You might see 2 hashtags for tonight. Hashtag Let's Talk Sense, CENTS, is the Capital One hashtag. If you want to include them both, the more the merrier. So Q1, let's start with you, Winnie, my dear. Question number 1 is, how do you currently feel about your money and finances? Let's get real fast.
Okay, let's talk it real. So me personally, is that what we're talking about, Chelsea?
Yep. How do you currently feel about your money and finances?
Speaking as a 16-year veteran and a financial advisor, I would say I'm pretty excited about my finances. It wasn't always like this. I started off as a poor, struggling, no money, all ramen college student. And now, with a little planning and a little saving and getting rid of my college debt, woohoo, I guess I would say that I'm in a really good situation now. So unlike my peers, I guess, or a lot of my peers, I feel really comfortable financially. I can talk about it. I can share about it. It's all good.
Well, I'm really happy for you, but I feel like you're like in the lower percentage of the world that could literally say they're happy with their finances, which is why I was so excited to have you on tonight's Blab/Millennial Talk collab, because hopefully you'll give us some insight for all those people who might not feel the same about how we can get more sufficient with our finances. Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know we're in startup life together.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, and there's so many millennial hustlers out there that are either have a side hustle or are looking to, leave their 9-to-5 more corporate job and start their own thing. Is it possible to be a young entrepreneur and actually feel comfortable with their financial, situation?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, look, you have to scale to your lifestyle and your paycheck. Really, let me rephrase that. You have to scale your lifestyle to your paycheck, right? So, if you're used to making X amount of money and you decide to go the entrepreneur route and you're making half of that or a fraction of that, you need to adjust your lifestyle accordingly. So I think anything is possible, right, when it comes to entrepreneurship. We've seen it over and over again with every startup that's come out here and has become a billion-dollar company. When you're saying, well, how did they become a billion-dollar company? That's crazy, but they found a way to do it. So I think, yes, it is possible. You just have to adjust accordingly. And you can't think that just because you were making X amount before and now you're at a startup and you're making a fraction of that, you can still go out to the club and get bottles and buy the new BMW and all that stuff. Doesn't work that way.
That comes later once you make the success happen. Ebony, you're also a pioneer, carving out your own path. You've been so innovative in your career thus far. How do you feel about your financial situation? And also, do you feel like I wish I put this question into the script, but I'm going to candidly say it now. I feel like the education system and college set me up for no financial independence. And I had no idea what I was doing, when I got into college and got out of college. Would you agree with me or disagree with me? And we can all disagree at times. No problem.
Yeah, no. So I have sort of two seasons of student loans. So undergrad, didn't have very many loans. Thankfully, I was blessed. My parents took care of all of that until my very last semester. So just paying off a really small loan. It wasn't until I decided that I wanted to go to NYU to grad school that I had to figure it all out on my own. So that's probably the biggest lump of debt that I have to deal with, thankfully. I went through the credit card debt as, early 20s. Now that I'm in my early 30s, it's more just getting rid of the student loan. And I would say I'm pretty conservative when it comes to spending. I'm not a slave to brands. If it doesn't have a rewards program or some sort of incentive, I probably won't be shopping there. So I try to shop smart. So I'm pretty comfortable, kind of putting things in order. So I don't have any huge complaints. I mean, we could always want more money, but I'm pretty comfortable.
All right, well, let's move on to Q2 as we get into more of the tips and tricks and trade of this conversation. Sending out Q2 right now, everyone. Prep to send out your answers. And also, I'm not being rude and ignoring you guys. I have another screen over here. So Q2 is being sent out now. Go ahead and fire off your answers. And I'm going to send Q2 out in the blab as well. Here we go. For all the new people on our blab tonight, definitely let us know who are the newbies tonight.
I love one person already said, oh, sweet, Capital One, I owe them money.
Well, Capital One is watching, so, whether you want them to know that or not, it's officially out there.
Love.
All right, Q2. So I really actually like this question. It's a would you rather? And it's a little bit of I actually I was surprised that Capital One actually approved this question. So thank you, Capital One, for letting us have a little fun. Greg, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, boy.
All right, so Q2. Would you rather post a photo of your paycheck on Instagram or share your Google search history on Facebook?
My paycheck now with our startup life or my paycheck with startup life?
I think now, current life.
Well, I'm gonna give you an answer of I would feel probably more comfortable posting my paycheck because, I mean, honestly, people can't really judge you too much off of that. Whereas, we work in a creative company. Do you know the kind of stuff we search on a day in and day out basis when we're working with brands?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's my Google history. Wait, do I get to clear my history before I share it?
Nope, your Google history as is.
My Google history is suspect then on a day-to-day basis because we get some interesting projects through our doors, So I'd probably share my paycheck.
All right, Winnie, what about you?
Oh, for sure. I don't want to share my paycheck. I'm probably a lot less interesting than Greg. So I would share my Google search.
Google. Yeah. Okay. Ebony?
Same. I have nothing to hide. I don't search anything crazy. I mean, what's popular, what's going on. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely search my Google search. I mean, rather post my Google search.
What about you, Chelsea? Let's flip it on you.
Yeah, Chelsea.
If I had to post my Google search history today, I'd post that in a heartbeat. This is what I searched today: how to spell dreidel and how to spell alpacachino, because that's our mascot in our office, and it's an alpaca that we named Cappuccino. So that's what I searched today. That would be the weird things, but I would not put my paycheck out there. Nobody needs to know what I make.
Exactly.
See, Greg's the guy. He wants the girls to know what he's making.
Clearly, you haven't seen the paycheck.
Start up life.
Maybe
All right, guys, let's get Q3 out there, sending it out. Keep this conversation going. Twitter's liking our Would You Rather game. And Q3 is officially sent. Take a second to send out your answer. Going to send it out on Blab right now as well. We got some mixed reviews on Blab about Would You Rather. Barry Morin says, no way, I would share my paycheck. Yikes. Roberto wouldn't be opposed to either. Roberto, I would imagine that you're searching a lot of YouTube material throughout the day.
Yeah, Roberto's a G. He knows. I'm going with, if Roberto said what I said, I still like my answer.
if Roberto says it, I'm in for it.
I'm in.
Roberto sounds pretty awesome.
He is. Awesome dude, getting a lot of love, Roberto. Okay, so Q3. Although millennials have time, what should we be doing now to make our retirement most rewarding? Winnie, as our real financial guru on the chat, I'm going to start with you.
Well, it's all about taking the first step. I kind of equate it a lot to exercise. The first few steps, the first couple of days are tough, but once you get in the consistency of it and you do it, you save money and you don't spend too much, it just gets easier and easier. And then it becomes really positive. Then you're kind of like collecting money for yourself. So you got to change your mindset. But once you do, it becomes really rewarding really quickly.
And I think a lot of millennials, first of all, probably think they're too young to even start thinking about retirement. But then for also the people like, the three of us who are all entrepreneurs, young, hustling to make our mark in our career, is there a certain salary that's a benchmark? Okay, you're making $60,000, you're making $70,000 that really allows you to put X amount of away? Or is that, again, adjusting to the lifestyle due to whatever you choose to put away? Is there like a format that you follow, or it's really just a personal preference?
I think it's very personal, but as long as you put it away, because a lot of times people will say, well, don't you have to have a lot of money to start saving for things like retirement? And really, it's not so much the money as the process of doing it, because once you start, there's going to be stages in your life when you're going to start to make more money, and there'll be stages when you're making less money. So you just have to adjust. But as long as you put yourself first, always first, you are number one, you will have something to show for it. What you don't want to do is, right now when you're young, it's so much easier to live off a little bit less, because it'll be nice. You want to have like a lot of financial freedom. And financial freedom is not having to worry about when that paycheck is showing up. So unfortunately, it's not perfect, but we do have a lot of cool budgeting tools that will make it a little bit easier.
I like budgeting tools. Will you share some throughout the chat or after using #MillennialTalk?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll get them all to you and all that good stuff.
Amazing. And Ebony, I mean, as a young, entrepreneur millennial, are you even thinking about your retirement right now?
I think as I get further along in my 30s, I think about it more. But for me and the community that I work with, I mean, we are a community of young Black givers, right? And so it's always said, the more you give, the more you'll have. And it's kind of hard to think that way, because you're like, well, if I give my money away, how am I getting it back? I think it's more the intrinsic value that comes with it. But just as Winnie said, it's all about a mindset, right? So if you organize yourself and set yourself up to say, okay, I'm going to start with this in mind. You have your paycheck. For me, it's really important to make sure I tithe first, right? So I give 10% back to God, which goes to my church. And then I give 10% to savings. And then I savings for myself. And then if I have an organization that I'm giving to, which would be one of the 3 focuses I have for the year, I make sure that I am meeting those goals. And then I have the rest for myself. So whether I'm, going to shop somewhere, again, where I get my rewards and my incentives, then that's fine. I have a play budget that I work with. So every time I get a paycheck, I have 2 different accounts. One is actually a Capital One 360 account. So I have a small amount of money that goes there, and I know I can use that if I want to go out to eat on the weekends, if I want to get my nails done, etc. So I don't have to touch the money that goes to bills and stuff that actually has to, go to important things. So I think it really comes down to practice and making it a habit, because the same way giving is a habit, the same way saving is a habit. So I think it comes with time, but the earlier you start, the better you'll be as you get older.
Greg, also, aside from, being a recent startup launcher, you just really engaged. So I just feel like, that kind of adds another element of reality. It's not just your, life, it's yours and your fiance's life and, obviously family down the road. So, I personally, I will tell you, I'm not thinking about retirement right now.
Right.
This is motivating me to actually take it more seriously, although I am only 24. But Greg, has it really crossed your mind?
Retirement has. How about just retiring? Yeah, that has.
I've thought about that, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But, no, it definitely has, and I'm constantly, I'm putting money away as best I can. But what I'm really trying to focus on doing is reading a lot and learning a lot, and figuring out what tools are out there, what opportunities are out there. And, new technologies are coming out all the time that can help facilitate moving money around so that, that it's going somewhere towards your retirement. So I think right now I'm doing the best I can, but I'm really trying to go to all links to learn and to better educate myself.
Definitely. Absolutely. There was some, I want to ask you, Winnie, if you've heard of this method, and I saw it, the 50-20-30 method. I'm scrolling.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard it. And so I'm assuming stuff to savings, retirement, emergency fund. And which one's which?
Okay, well, I guess everybody has a slightly different question. So, different formula. So you said it's the 50.
I'm trying to find it in this feed now. Oh, here we go. Career Contessa. We love the 50-30-20 plan.
Okay.
Prepare for retirement, pay for your bills, have a little fun.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you have to figure out which of those is. I think from that calculation, a lot of people use the 20% as the percentage that they need to save, which I think is a great idea, especially if you're a millennial and you're younger. Then 20% is a nice, healthy starting point. And then you can move up the scale. But if you can, obviously, it's not perfect, and there's nothing that fits everybody. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be retired when I'm 70. I want to have the option to speed that up. So why not, right? Why not just change it from 20 to maybe 25 or 30 when you can? And I especially recommend you doing it when the market is at depressed levels, when everyone thinks it's doom and gloom, because you get a little bit more legs on your money when you invest in difficult times. But the most important thing is to have that pattern. Do it consistently, do it all the time. And I would challenge you all to put away more than you think, because you just learn to live within your limits, when I don't know about you, but as we start to slowly move up the scale of income, we slowly get comfortable with more income, so we can get more comfortable with less income too.
Mm-hmm, that's for sure. Ebony, you said that, you have the most thorough plan out of the 3 of us, or the 2 of us slackers up there. But how did you get into the habit? I think everything is a habit, right? Like, getting into your routine, getting to the gym, committing to eating, buying healthier groceries. How did you set yourself up so that just became your new normal?
I think it was a choice, right? Just like everything is a choice. You just listed a number of things where it's a choice you make. If you want to get in shape, you commit yourself to the gym. If you want to eat better, you commit yourself to doing that. So I think the same thing happens with money. And I just read an article not too long ago why so many millennials of color struggle with saving. And that's because we have so many responsibilities to family. And so while that may be a cultural thing, I think that a lot, that may go across middle class families, right? we end up, our parents need money, so we end up sending money back home, or so-and-so gets sick and we have to help them out. So I think where your family falls, sometimes that may follow you into your adult life. And whether it's, perhaps your parents kind of throwing their issues of money on you, or just things that happen to come up, again, you have to, sorry, I'm in a room that you have to move. You have to make a choice to commit to saving and commit to giving and commit to spending in a certain way. So I think that it was honestly just a choice, in the same way that Greg says he reads a lot. I just try to read as much as I can about how to do better. I mean, I definitely have areas I can do better. But I think in terms of how I can both give and save at the same time, and how they both, kind of cross and intersect for long-term gain, it was just
totally. And you know what? It's kind of great timing to have this conversation, because the New Year is right around the corner, and a great New Year's resolution to, definitely try to make that a habit in the year 2016. All right, guys, moving on to Q4. It has already been sent out on Twitter. I'm going to add it into the Blab feed right here. Take a second to send out your answers. And so Q4 is, what technology innovation helps you most with organizing your finances? Greg, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I love both of my banking apps. We do our business banking through Chase, and then my personal through B of A. And I think both of those apps are great. And then as far as kind of outside strictly the banking side, I like Mint. Mint is great. My fiance uses Credit Karma. She's a big fan of that one to maintain her, her credit stuff. So yeah, I think there's a lot of resources, but I'm a big fan of Mint. I think that's just a great one to help you stay on top of stuff, keep you organized, and really know where you're at.
Definitely. Winnie, what about you? I know you name dropped a software tool that you liked budgeting tools, but what about some technology innovations, apps or not apps that you really like and think that would be great for us to explore?
Well, I'm with Greg. I think a lot of the credit card companies have done a really smart job making it easy to track our expenses and what we're spending. So I'm a big fan of them as well. So the ones that Greg listed, I love. I also think if you want to, sometimes it's just a first step, right? So I think for me, I use a credit card to keep track of my spending. And that way it's just one easy place to quickly figure out how much I'm spending per month. So everybody uses credit cards for different things, but like Greg, I use it for record keeping.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ebony?
Mobile apps have been super helpful for me. I've tried Mint, but it just seems to be delayed in spending. So I'll spend something today and like 3 days later, be like, oh, you went over your budget. So I don't know, maybe I have my notifications. I don't know. So I just honestly like mobile apps just to be able to go on, see where I am. And I actually have had a spreadsheet on Google Docs since 2008. It literally month by month, it's my bills that I spend every month. That's how I keep track of what I've paid, what I need to pay. Once certain things are paid off, I just do a little strike through. So, it's really simple. But I use a Google Doc just to keep track of my bill spending. And it's been going, have a tab from 2008 till now. So I'm kind of proud of it, actually.
Yeah, and it's so funny.
I
know, because every year I have my designated financial notebook, and all of my income, because being a freelancer, it comes from all different sources at odd different times, and you really have to when tax season rolls around, make sure you're on your game. I handwrite everything just because. I just feel like it also just makes me remember it that much more. I always used to write down every definition when I had to study for vocabulary back in the day. So in the habit of just ingraining it in my brain. But I'm with you. Sometimes old school methods are the best school methods, in my opinion. And I think there's a lot of love on Mint too, and a lot of mobile banking apps. It's I don't remember life before mobile banking apps where you could upload your paycheck and check your statement on demand and even transfer money easily. But banks have totally stepped up their game and the mobile apps, and I can't even imagine how that innovation is going to continue as we progress.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest things is they not only offer so many services for that individual person who's using their bank, whether it's B of A, Chase, whoever. Well, Wells Fargo, but they offer resources now on their apps too. So you can see, like, there's financial calculators, there's ways to learn more about things that they offer, or just other things in the marketplace. So I think that they've all stepped it up in a big way.
Yep, and there's a few other old school thinkers on here as well. Excel spreadsheets, love my Google Docs, definitely love pen and paper. So, you know what? So you got to find what method works for you. That's for sure.
And we got a whole, if that helps, I mean, I've got a whole bunch of these free tools on our website that you can just grab if you want them. So I'll make sure to get them over to Chelsea too.
Definitely. And even if you want to copy and paste your website link into the Blab feed, definitely go for it.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to send out Q5 if you want to start prepping your answers for Q5, everyone. And I will submit it into the lab as well. Here we go. Oh, I'm very excited about this next question. All right. Multitasking at its finest. All right, so Q5, I'm really excited about this one. When it comes to negotiating your salary, what are some tips to approach the subject to score a larger paycheck? I'm also going to flip the question too, because we have some business owners. If someone were to come up to you, how you would feel about that question. So I'm two-pronging it. Greg,
No.
How do you feel about Q5?
So it's interesting, right? So I've been on both sides of it. And I think that the first thing I can say is, if you seem really eager and someone throws out a number and you're like, yes, perfect. Okay, great. It's like, okay, are you just jumping at it because you really want to work here, which is fantastic? Or are you jumping at it because you're desperate for a job? You're not making me think like, okay, well, so now I'm just put a value on what your worth is as an employee. If you fight for it a little bit, then it kind of justifies to me that, you really value yourself and what you can bring to the company. And I think that a couple ways that you can really raise your salary in a negotiation. Remember, when you start off at a company and whatever you negotiate your salary at, that's your baseline. That's where you're starting at that company. It's going to be really hard to make enormous leaps and bounds, because that's where you kind of set that standard. But I think if you can, in the interview process, be able to really sell yourself and other skills that you can bring that are maybe not listed in the bullets of the job description, you're going to show that you're more valuable than that job description, and then you can command a higher worth.
Mm-hmm. Winnie, as an employer too, several different employees. How many people do you have employed, Winnie?
We've got about 12.
12. Okay, well, that's definitely a handful. So, first of all, have you experienced this? Because I feel like it's like this little taboo thing, right? Like, oh, you should never ask for more, especially if you're in the interview phase. You love it. Okay. So tell us what you think. Lay it on us.
Well, I would say, I've hired a lot of employees. In fact, I am in charge of hiring. And what I love is when someone comes to me and they are here to solve my problem. So, of course, when they come in and I read the resume, based on their experience, we kind of know how much we're interested in paying. But if they come in and they say, I've done research on your business, on your industry, on you, and these are the things I think you should do. Boom, boom, boom. And this will therefore, if you do this, I checked at the market share, you could probably, earn this much more. I'm like, come work for me now. And first off, how soon can you start? So I think that if you're going to go for it and ask for more money, which I'm with Greg on, you should have the confidence to ask for it, but come prepared and take yourself out of the picture. When you go interview, think about only the person sitting in front of you. And at the end of the day, when I pay you, it's taking away monies that would go to my family and my kids. So I need to be able to justify it. So help me make that decision really easy.
Mm-hmm. I love that answer. Ebony, do you employ anybody?
Mm-hmm. I don't. I've always had a team of volunteers. Yay. However, just experience with wanting to make more. And actually answer this question for a lot of younger folks that I may mentor from afar, et cetera. But very similar to Winnie's response, knowing the value that you have to bring to an employer, I think is really helpful. But if you're not sure, I always say, go to a mentor or an internal executive and share your aspirations. And for women, I honestly recommend going I recommend going to men to ask them about negotiation because, as we know, they make more. That's neither here nor there. However,
believe me, ask Chelsea what my mother would say about this topic right now.
Oh yeah, he'd be in deep trouble if he combat that one.
Okay, yeah. So you say nothing. You say nothing. You say nothing. But I think that when it comes to, particularly if you have a male boss, what is it that they're looking for? What are some tactics that have worked for them? And I think the confidence thing is really, really important. And the one thing that I've always heard, whether it's a negotiation, even getting a job in the negotiation process, I've had to do that, is writing out either your accomplishments that support your increase or your request. And if you're going for a job and you want to sort of counter that negotiation, list out line by line exactly why you need, like what you're justifying, like how you're able to justify that increase. So if they're saying they want you to come in at, let's say, 50, and you're like, no, I want 55, then you need to be able to justify that $5,000. And so I had to do that for a job, and it worked. And so you kind of go in a little bit higher than what you want, so you actually get what you want. My mother always tells me that. So, I would say seek advice from other people, as well as going in higher and always being able to justify the increase that you're looking for.
Yes, props to that. And I also, if you're interested in further exploring this topic in particular, our second Millennial Talk collab, which is on my YouTube page, was with Ashley Stahl, who's a career coach to millennials, those 20 and 30-year-olds. And we actually talked about this a little bit more in depth. And I said to Ashley, as a career coach, so someone giving people advice on interview and, how to combat the hard questions and especially questions about salary, I said, I think a lot of people are just so scared to bring it up that they don't want to hurt their chances of possibly landing the job. And she said, absolutely not. Do never be scared to negotiate your salary. Sometimes when you can negotiate your salary, and then again, with what all three of you said, justify why that salary should be increased and how you're a valuable asset to that person, that company, they tend to like you and your cojones that much more. So if you're interested,
yes, on the cojones.
Yes, so if you and your cojones are in,
and one more thing, Chelsea, I've always. Mm-hmm. I've always learned that whenever they make you an offer, there's always more. Like no one's ever going to offer you the top of their budget, right? So if they have $50,000, they're not going to make you that $50,000 offer. They want to save some money. So always know you can always ask for more. Don't
just
ever
bring value. I mean, I always
again?
tell people, show me the money and I will show you the money.
How Jerry Maguire of you. I like it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I never accept the first offer ever. Always ask for more. Unless it's, they're like, I don't have, always ask. Even if it's more days off, ask for something.
What do you think, guys, especially when you're freelancing, when someone goes, what is your service fee? Obviously, you should know your worth. So you should never be extreme and give an absurd number. Yes. But you don't tell someone your service fee and then they go up from there. Usually it's met in the middle, or somehow they're trying to negotiate you down. So I feel like it also goes on the flip side when you're giving someone, a cost for a service, whether it's just a one-off or actually, submitting yourself for a position for a job. It's know your worth, know your value, but then usually it goes down from there, not up from there. Unless you're negotiating, with a larger job description and salary from there. But yes, again, have the cojones to bring it up.
And remember, it's nothing. It's never personal. It's strictly business, right?
Exactly. It's always business. But the other thing I would say, Chelsea, I would add that it's okay to take a little bit less and go in and just show them how amazing you are, because it just adds so much more value. I always feel like if that person is out for the day and I'm hurting, I can't afford that person to leave me. So I got to make sure come bonus time that person is given a really nice bonus. So I would say I kind of agree. I kind of disagree a little bit. I think you can't, if you besides being an independent contractor of your employee, I think it's okay to take a little bit less and go in and show how great you are, because I haven't been known to give bonuses as quickly as 6 weeks, because I realize that this person is incredible.
I'm coming to work for you.
How many job resumes do you think when he's going to have it by the end?
When your inbox
No, like I'm
got
going to work
flooded.
20.
But you know,
that is so kind. I have a wonderful team.
Right.
They take care of me so I can hang out with people like you.
but you know what? And you know, to your point, Winnie, a lot of people ask, how have you been able to work with so many brands throughout your career or get to a place, you know, that you have at, you know, only 24? And I realize that all the time. But I worked for free for a lot of the time. And I was in high school and I lived under my parents' roof. So it was a lot easier than it would be now. But I showed my worth. I proved my value. And then, you know, when brands started to ask or come back around, or I started to upsell my services, pitch that I wanted to do more on behalf of, you know, myself, my influencer, you know, I had that value established before I then asked for what I thought was the appropriate service fee. So especially for those, you know, who are looking to build up their rapport and their portfolio, to Winnie's point, sometimes, you know, go in, prove your value, because if you do a good job, they're going to refer you to others or ask for your services again. So
But see how they treat their other employees. So if they treat their other employees not that well and have not to give raises that often, then you might not be in the hands of a giver. So I would be careful about that too.
And sometimes, you know, people are scared or intimidated of their bosses, but I feel like for someone who likes to be the intimidator, sometimes they like when someone piques a question that they're like, oh, did you really just, you know, have the courage to ask me that? And sometimes I feel like I can win people over. I know how many times we did bonus in 1 hour. All right, let's move on to the next question because it's a big one. An important one. Q6 has already been sent out on Twitter. Go ahead and submit your answers, guys. Here it is in the Blab feed. And come on, copy and paste. All right, Q6. Any tips that you could share about maintaining or improving your credit score? Ebony, how do you feel about that?
Well, as I type in my answer for the Twitter, I always say, and my mother tried to get me to do this in college when I had a credit card. Unfortunately, now I'm friends with Capital One, but in college I was not. I just refused to pay my credit card bill on time. You know, I think that the sort of college predatory, you know, not predatory lending, but they would go after college students. And I was one of those college students that ate the pie. And I mean, I was 21 days late, 160. I mean, it was ridiculous. And so I just didn't understand the importance. Well, that was my lesson. And once I got Capital One off my back, I said, I will never allow that to happen again. And so, I mean, we're friends now. I mean, after, you know, they took over ING and all that fun stuff. So love you guys. But there was a time we weren't friends. But anyway, and so from that, I learned to pay my bills on time. That will make a world of difference with your credit. And so I would say that is, if you're not paying them on time, start. But the first thing I would say is at least get your credit report at least once a year, particularly if you're not sure. If you've never checked your credit, sometimes I like to, I kind of think getting your credit checked is almost like going to the doctor, you know, and getting tests that you may not want to see. You're like, oh, Lord. You know, but you have to do it because you want to know that you have a clean bill of health. So, you know, get the credit report, see what the number is. And if you can work on it, start to work on it and then dispute the things that come up. Perfect example, I was in the home buying process or starting it at least. And the first thing they do is they pull your credit. And I had no idea that this ticket I did not pay in Maryland. I just didn't want to pay it. And they actually went against my credit. I was so mad. And it was like, I don't know, $50 tickets. Anyway, paid the ticket and it eventually got cleared off. And then I found something that, you know, with Macy's. I mean, all these little tiny things that you don't know that show up. So I say once a year, get a copy of your credit report, see what's on there, clean it up. And then, you know, just be responsible, pay things on time, do not be late.
Yep, absolutely. Winnie, I'm going to say you for last as the true financial expert. But Greg, also, you know, when you're managing a business, now you have that much more on, you know, financial structure that needs to be in place, your personal finances, but also making sure that your employees are getting paid accordingly, your payroll is looking good, and then all your business bills. So, thankfully, Greg is my partner, so I don't really have to do much of that. When it comes to the numbers, I go, Greg, handle it. But, you know, when it comes to credit, so important. How do you balance it and make sure it stays?
Well, I mean, obviously you have to. Yeah, I mean, I think running a business and then obviously maintaining your personal are two completely separate. But actually, in this process, I've learned that a lot of times they are joined. When we had to get credit cards for the business, we had to sign off on personal stuff to guarantee it. So they do cross over. So if you are a millennial who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, know that just because you're going to open a business, if you don't have a good credit score, that doesn't mean that could mean you're not going to qualify for business credit cards.
Yep.
They go hand in hand. So, I think when you have personal and you have business, you got to make sure you're paying your bills on time. With the business stuff and with my personal stuff, almost everything's on auto. I always check it to make sure there's nothing crazy. But yeah, there's so many ways now to put things on auto that you shouldn't be late on payments. You really shouldn't, have any excuse not to pay things on time. And as Ebony mentioned, that's one of the biggest things in building your credit and maintaining your credit is just paying your bills on time. And for us balancing stuff at Impulse, there's lots of things that, that are different than in the personal life, right? Obviously rent is rent and mortgage is mortgage, but at the same time, we have a host of other things, employees to pay and taxes to pay and all kinds of things. And stay organized and pay everything on time. Those are my two things. I'm done. Winnie, you're the expert.
Yeah, Winnie, give us some really good tips on make sure to maintain that credit score. Also, maybe even just giving us a little education on, how a bad credit score could really have a ripple effect for the long term.
Sure. So I always say to my clients, the credit score is like the secret in and out menu. Everyone says they know these different formulas and we're not quite sure, but a couple of things that you should pay attention to. The credit score could obviously have a lot of impact on buying a new home, a car, and all that stuff. But most importantly, it's something that stays with you for a very long time if you don't keep on top of it. There's a couple things that you want to pay attention that can boost your score, and things that I'll tell you. Number one would be your college loan. Believe it or not, I call it that a healthy loan. If you get that baby paid down, your score will jump. So anything you can pay down, your score will fly. The other thing you don't want to do is you primarily don't want to have your credit run more than 2 times a month. So I always tell my clients no more than once a month. Don't let people pull it. Make sure you know who's messing with it. And, there are different services that kind of keep track of your credit score. And some of them, you may or may not need because you're allowed to have you're allowed to pull your own credit once a year. So you just want to maintain that there's no surprises. And a lot of these great credit card companies, since we are here with Capital One, do a good job of updating us when there's strange behavior. But I would say the most important thing is not to open too many cards. Have one for your main card that you use for everything. Hopefully it earns you some cash rewards or points or something good like that. And keep track of it. So the easiest way to keep track is to actually have only 1 or 2 cards. And I would suggest no more than that.
Yeah, I've never heard the tip of don't run your credit more than 2 times a month. What's the downside to doing that?
Well, if you think about it, if you had your credit run more than twice a month, if I'm the person looking to lend you money to buy a car or to get you a new credit card, I'm seeing, oh, wow, Chelsea's out there trying to get more, access to more money. So will she be able to pay off 2 cards, 3 cards? And what's going on? Is she having trouble getting these loans, or she out looking to spend money? So from a credit score standpoint, it's not very seen as a very positive behavior versus if you were able to just break it out to like 35 days and then you pull it again, it's a lot better. So it's kind of like when people are looking to buy a house, what I suggest you do is not let multiple lenders pull your credit. So, have someone pull it once, hold on to your credit score and your credit report, and you say, okay, look at, or even when you're looking to rent an apartment, you go and rent multiple places, everybody wants to pull your credit. You're like, no, I got my credit score report once.
Yep.
This is what it is. How much is it going to cost?
Mm-hmm. Great tip.
And one other thing too that I found after my credit card debacle was that having a charge card, like American Express. I don't know if I can say that on here, but just diversify your credit card, your plastic portfolio. I'll say that because when you have to pay those off, then you're more inclined to be responsible with it. And so I found that you have one, if you have to have a credit card and then have a charge card, so that you will pay them off and know that if I don't pay this off by the end of the month, there are going to be penalties. I mean, obviously having, interest and, late fees and everything like that, but getting your card shut off is a big enough penalty. So I think sometimes looking into diverse plastic options, is also something that can help you.
Winnie, I'm going to direct a question from the Blab feed to you, and it's from @HireMeDC. And the question is, how do you consolidate multiple inquiries on your credit for one major purchase?
That's a really good question. I think if it's one major purchase, I highly recommend you pulling your own credit score and having that hard copy and going to whoever. So let's say a major purchase is like a car, right? So if you're going to multiple dealerships trying to negotiate, I don't know, a lease or a loan or something of that nature, you show them this. You said, here's my credit score. Give me your bottom best price. And you're not allowed to pull my credit until I sign with you. And you shop it that way. So that works with really all sorts of large purchases. But I would say protect your credit like you do your wallet. Like, don't let anybody touch it until you're absolutely ready.
I know when I was apartment hunting for the third time in the past 2 years, and they ran my credit, and I was told that I had a very good, clean bill of health. The person was like actually so surprised, and I said, "You look really surprised that I have good credit." He's like, "Well, you just seem really young," and I'm like, "Does that mean that I'm not, organized enough to have, a good credit score?" And he was just like, a lot of young people just don't have good credit these days, and I was like, wow, that's just so disappointing to hear. Like I think he was ready for me to not, pass. But I was like, well, that's not very, inspiring for the young people out there. But, obviously, I'm sure, Winnie, you have tons of resources on how to improve your credit score. And I'll be sure to promote any Forbes articles maybe you've written on credit just for, helping everyone and anyone out there.
You need to make sure.
Definitely. All right, so let's move on to Q7. We have about 10 minutes left. Send out your answers, everyone. We won't spend that much time on this question because we kind of covered it a little bit, but let me send it out in the Blab right now. Okay. So question number 7 is, do you have any advice for organizing an emergency savings? So we've talked about that 50-20-30 rule. We talked about, really thinking about retirement. But an emergency can happen at any time of the day, at any day. Retirement is ways away. So, Winnie, would you say that an emergency savings is, so essential for everyone at any age?
I think so. Would you jump out of a plane without a parachute? Really, that's really the same thing. I think having a little bit of cushion is just financial freedom, and you deserve it because you work really hard. And at the end of the day, it's not about banks, it's not about credit cards, it's about you. And you deserve to have money so you can have some fun and not stress. So I guess the key thing is you have to see money as being your friend and really keep it safe and understand that goods and material goods, they're just things, but you deserve like stability and just to be happy, not stress.
Ebony, I'm sure in your Google Doc you have a section for emergency savings.
Actually, no. So my home savings ended up turning into my emergency savings when I ended up not purchasing a home. And so that habit, that discipline of saving like $100, actually, I think I did more like 200 every month. And now I'm back to 100. But every month I am disciplined and I save. And so I have an account. So within my banking account, there are actually 4 different accounts, right? So yeah, I have my regular banking account, and then I have 2 savings accounts. One of those savings accounts counts as my emergency fund. So I always make sure that there's money in it. I always make sure, that there's money in my other savings accounts. I always have a backup. So this idea of back to diversifying your bank accounts. Learn that in my 20s so that you don't just have one account. So whatever that number is, whether that's $50, $25, whatever fits wherever you are, make sure that you are disciplined enough to save that every month, no matter what, because it's going to come a time where you're going to need that money, and you never know what that emergency may be. Your tire may blow out, I don't know. And you may have to fly somewhere, due to bereavement. You never know. So it's always important to have an emergency fund, but you've got to be the one to start it and not touch it. That's not your, rainy day weekend fund. That is your if something happens fund that I can tap into. I know CDs aren't necessarily set up for them to be emergencies, but if you are doing, are you saving intentionally for something down the road? That's a great way to put your money into a CD because you can't touch it. That's literally something you can't touch. So you put in a set amount, draws interest, and then, when that time comes, you can either open it or keep it closed and keep saving it. So I think it's just, up to you to find what works best. But for emergencies, absolutely. I would say even have, I have 2 savings accounts, just make sure you have something.
And Greg, instead, I'm going to ask a question sent in by Roberto Blake because I was actually about to share a story where a really good friend of mine had a horrible case of pneumonia, and $3,000 later, her emergency savings saved her because she doesn't know how else she would have been able to afford it. And Roberto's questions along the line of how do you eliminate medical debt on your credit card? Also, what if it's an error due to insurance dropping the ball? Any insight for that, Winnie?
Yes, absolutely. You are innocent until proven guilty, and that includes hospitals, medical organizations, and credit agencies. So what you want to do is, it's very easy to show that you paid for things. So keep a very clear, organized file and write a letter to that medical organization's billing department showing that proof that you did do so, and they will usually send a response, yay or nay, and then with that documentation, you can contact the various credit agencies with proof to get that corrected. So it does require a little bit of legwork from you, but certainly not that difficult to do.
All right, well, I'm glad we got to answer that question because especially insurance, they make everything so confusing anyway when you try to use your insurance. So I'm happy that, it's really about organization, having all of your receipts, all of your medical bills, all of your everything, so that, again, you're innocent until proven guilty. There's another theme for tonight's chat. All right, sending out Q8. Here we go. We are creeping on the end of the hour already. Q8 being sent out on Twitter. Feel free to send your answers, guys. We're about to talk some 401k plans. Ebony, you gave a little introduction with the CDs. All right, so Q8 is, what is some of the best advice you received to make managing your 401k plan simple and effective? I'm also going to throw at you, Winnie, what the difference between a 401k plan and a CD is.
A 401k and I'm sorry?
And a CD. Ebony mentioned CD. So if you could just give a quick definition of the difference, that'd be awesome.
Sure. 401k is essentially a tax code. And what it is an employer-sponsored retirement plan. So many of you already know what this is, so I apologize as a repeat. But basically, it enables you to sock away money for your retirement on a very tax-efficient and beneficial way. And then a CD stands for Certificate of Deposit, and it's FDIC insured. It's offered by traditionally banks, and usually the interest is pretty low, but you get the lower interest because you have the safety of not losing your principal. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of the 401k, so hope that you're all.
How do we make managing the 401k plan simple and effective? I was home for Thanksgiving, and a bunch of my friends and I were together, and everyone was talking about the different structure that their 401k plan is set up. Every corporation has their own, way of doing it and how much money they put into it. But is there something we can do on our end to just keep more track of it or make the most of it?
You need new friends, Chelsea. That's what you talk about over Thanksgiving? Your friends from home? Come on.
It was a very educational type of conversation.
What's wrong with this, Greg? Don't you want to talk about 401k?
No, I do.
That's not what you talk about at happy hour, 401k.
That's what I was going to say,
I mean, come on.
It seems like a question I get asked at the gas station. So
I need premium gas. What's your 401k plan?
yeah, what's your 401k? Let me give you some tricks of the trade, and I would say for your 401k. First off, number one, put away more than you think you can put away. Number two, understand your investment choices. There's usually two ways that you can invest, and I'll let you decide which one's better for you because you're not my client. But there's number one, there's something called they call it age-based or years until retirement. So it's pretty much a portfolio designed for you of stocks, bonds, CDs, and whatnot. And it's more aggressive when you're a little bit younger, and it gets more and more conservative as you get closer to retirement. I really think it's great to kind of get comfortable with the mutual funds that you have allocated to you and investments that you have. And typically, a lot of companies these days offer you some sort like planning tools online, so you can play around with those. And if not, I would seek out a financial advisor because usually they'll at least take a look at it and give you kind of an idea of how healthy your 401k is. And and if you have nobody, you're welcome to call me. I can give you some free advice.
Greg, I didn't let you answer the question before, but do you have any insight on this question?
No, actually, my tweet was Winnie is a G in this arena, so I'm letting her handle this.
Yeah. What about you, Ebony? I know as we're all more on the freelance side, the three of us, so 401k plans usually aren't in that mix. But
in my Viacom days, I mean, all I did was, I'd have it directly deducted or pre-tax, so I didn't see it or auto-draft it. That's what I did. And they matched well, and that's all I knew. I was like, all right, whatever, take it.
And you know what? Independent contractors out there, Winnie, is there some sort of 401k-like tool or opportunity for those of us who don't have, that 401k opportunity who don't work for a bigger corporation business?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're a self-employed or independent contractor, even if you have just yourself or you have a very small group of, let's say, 3 employees, you can set up very similar structures like 401ks. There's something called a SEP IRA. There's even a one-person 401k. And some really great 401k companies you can set up with only 3 employees. So there's always a way. If you want to save money from taxes, you just have to have someone help you do so.
That's great to know. I'm glad we got that in there as well. All right, so we can't have a financial conversation without really talking about debt. So let's get into that. And I'm going to send out Q9 right now on Twitter. Go ahead and send your answers, everyone. Sending it out in Blab as well. And Q9 is, for those of us in debt, what are some steps for how we can create a strategy plan that helps us pay it off quickly? Ebony, do you have any insight for Q9?
Yeah, absolutely. So getting out of debt, the first thing I think about, is spending. Again, remember, I'm a conservative person when it comes to money, but I look at so many of the things that we spend unnecessarily. Particularly think about lunch. How many times a week do you go out to lunch and how that adds up every single day? Particularly if you live in a metropolitan city, New York, DC, LA, you can easily spend $15, $20 on lunch. I mean, Sweet Greens is $15 for some lettuce. I can't. So I think about how you can save, no shade to the Sweet Greens out there, but I just can't. Can you meal prep on Sunday and have, lunch throughout the rest of the week that you pack? I try to pack all week and then I'll treat myself on Fridays for something inexpensive. So I think that it's all about sacrifice. Do you have to get your nails done every week? Can you go once a month? Little things like that aren't going to kill you, but just help you kind of shift things around. And then, of course, when, you have bills up to wazoo, I always say aggressively pay off your highest bill first. That was advice given to me a couple years ago. Whatever your highest bill is, pay that one off first, and the one with the highest interest, just get rid of it. And then my aunt actually gave me this advice: double your minimum payments on your smaller bills. So if they're saying that it's $50 a month for your minimum payment, always double that so that you can get to pay it off, and never really pay the minimum because you're really only paying the interest at that point. but then really take a look at what your interest is versus what the principal is and try to pay over that. So you're paying against the principal and not the interest. So, you know, and then, you know, you can celebrate small wins, you know, get yourself some ice cream, you know, if you've done something great, you know, and celebrate that until you get yourself out of the hole that you're in, because there's nothing like having freedom in your money and not feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm paying my bills and I hate it. Someone tweeted, this was a while ago, and they said, you know that you're in a good place when you're happy to pay your bills, right? How do you feel when you're about to pay your bills? Is it you get a knot in your stomach, or you're just like, all right, done, moving on to the next thing? So, you know, you should always feel good about paying your bills.
Represent all the gentlemen in the group who are
Okay. I got you. You know, it's funny. I think my thing is very quick and very easy. Is cash, cash, cash. Forget you have those credit cards. Put them in, you know, a place that you're going to forget to look for however long it's going to take you to pay it off. Use cash. Pay off everything you can, but just use cash when you go to do anything and everything, because when you're out of cash, you're out of cash. You're not buying that, you know, pair of Nikes. You're not going out to that dinner. You're not, you know, going to the third movie at the theater for the week. You know what I mean? So it's like cash is real, and that to me is just such a great way. And everything I've ever read about getting out of debt has always said it's cash. Cash is king, right? Mm-hmm. So,
all right, Winnie, tell us what you think. Simplifying the way that we can pay off debt quickly without making it sound like we're strapped in life, but making it just a plan that we feel like we can tackle and move forward with.
Well, I agree with Ebony completely and Greg completely too. The one other thing I would add, which a whole bunch of the people on Blab are talking about, is making a little bit more money. So do some freelance work. It's never easier than now. There's like sites like Fiverr and Elance and all this stuff. So pick up an extra gig now and then, because if you make a little bit more, it just makes it a little bit nicer, and you can actually live. And because if you keep that debt, it's like basically that interest is going to just swallow you whole. So the only way to make a dent is really to earn a little bit more money.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you even mentioned Fiverr, because I actually was just combing through Fiverr for some freelance writers, and there are so many different services that you might not even realize you have a skill set at that you can monetize. And thanks to social media and thanks to the internet today, we can, you know, promote ourselves and build our own brand and build our own awareness. And right. At the end, if your job ends at 5, you've got, you know, a lot of time left in the day to have that side hustle and help pay off those loans and utilize the resources we have available to us today. I mean, you never know what that side hustle, you know, could monetize into. Right. So I love that tip as well. All right, so we're officially over time, but we have one more question, so let's knock it out. And I like this last question. Something that I know Greg and I can really relate to. And so.
Wait, I'm sorry. And why? I'm sorry. Why can you guys relate to this?
You know, someone decided to put a ring on my finger lately, but Greg just put a ring on my finger.
Oh, I didn't know. I just, you know, I didn't know who it was or.
Trying to stir up some stuff, Ebony.
No, I didn't. I was just asking. I saw a ring, so I didn't know.
Well, just to clarify, Greg and I are not engaged to each other.
Use my work wife.
Okay. That's what I thought we were missing here.
My work husband, but yes. We go home.
Okay. I was like, oh, that's so cute. They're like partners in life and partners. Okay.
Now that we've clarified that, you're welcome, Capital One. Don't worry. We are moving on to Q10. It's been sent out on Twitter.
Okay.
Sending it in the Blab feed as well. Oh my gosh, so funny. So for all the young couples out there, we are, joint finances is bound to come up in conversation. What kind of tips and personal experience can we all provide for this question? Greg, I'm going to let you start.
Yeah, sure. So, no, it's funny. I mean, my fiance and I we've had conversations, and I think really what it comes down to is that your spending habits are similar, right? Your spending habits, your saving habits, and that one of you isn't just really conservative and let me say isn't such a saver and the other such a spender that you're going to butt heads over that. So I think that you need to have your financial goals on the same page. You need to have your spending habits on the same page, and I think that for that, when you join money and now when you're both spending each other's money in whatever way you're spending it, then you're on the same page. I think that'll probably make for a happier home. That's my guess.
Good answer. Ebony, what about you with joint finances? I mean, has it ever been an issue? Has it ever come to conversation? Haven't had to deal with it?
My first tweet was, next question, no clue, single. No. So I actually had to ask one of my girlfriends who's married, and, kind of back to one of Winnie's first answers, is all about mindset. Before you all get married, you have to have the conversation. Are you a saver? Are you a spender? Right. And if you're both spenders, then someone's got to give. You got to have the conversation. If you're both savers, well, eventually you got to spend money. So, I think, going into it, it's really all about, having a mindset and finding that middle ground between the both of you, and seeing, what plan you'll come up with. So I'm going to stop there because I don't have any experience. I'm just telling what my married friend told me, and she's in a happy marriage. So
okay, good to get happy advice from happy friends. Winnie, for someone who really truly manages people's finances, I'm sure, isn't it true that of the top 5 reasons why people get divorced is over finances? So how can you avoid that going forward? And what tips can you give to the young couples out there? Or it doesn't matter how old you are, maybe you still need advice for that joint finance conversation.
Well, you're absolutely right. More people have arguments over money than anything. I am happily married, and my husband and I are, I would say, sort of kind of pretty much aligned on finances, and we weren't always the case. But something you got to remember is when you walk down the aisle, you also marry debt. So one thing that I made sure for myself is, and I tell this to clients all the time, I said, when you're thinking about getting married, make sure you both start on a clean slate. So, best to take the time to get that debt paid off for both of you and then get married. And then you have to really commit to teaming up, because if you're on different scales financially, it's going to be hard to make it work, because people's perceptions of money doesn't change. It doesn't change too much as you've gotten married longer. But believe it or not, it's actually one of the easiest things to change. You can easily get everybody on the same page, because more money also translates to more vacations together, and lifestyle changes. Like eventually you'll have children and all that stuff, and you just got to get on the same team. But you have to be openly and talk about it all the time. Talk about money all the time.
One of the tips that, from my personal experience also, that a lot of people challenged me on quickly was when my fiance Jordan and I moved to California. We moved in together for the first time. And, after a while, we started it was going back and forth of keeping track of who was buying, the paper towels and the paper plates and all of the household items. And it just started to get so much more of a burden than it should have been. So we created a joint account just to put to, groceries, household items, whatever that our joint, whatever we would do together. So we had an allotted budget every month for things that the two of us did together. And it also it was a great way to kind of get our feet wet of talking about money together and making sure that we were on the same playing field. But it was a really great learning lesson. And my last tip of the night is, if you don't happen to be good with numbers, which equals money, like myself, make sure you marry somebody who's better than you, so that you can make them do it. That's my final tip for this evening. Or find a business partner that's better than you too at numbers. And so thank you so much, guys, for joining the conversation. Thank you for rolling over time with me. Thank you for making these types of conversations always fun. Adore all 3 of you. Thanks so much for all of the chat on Blab and Twitter. Again, if you're interested in joining our Twitter chats, you can always find them at chelseacross.com. Click the Millennial Talk tab. So much, 3 of you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Good night.
Soon. Have a great evening.
Bye, guys. Sorry I put you guys together, but now I know you're not, but it's all good.
It's all good.
Bye,
Thanks so much. Fun. Have a great night, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.